Greetings, friends. Greetings, friends. Hello to you. I'm speaking to you through my fancy, cheap Amazon headphones today. So if you can't hear me, because they oftentimes do not function properly, just somebody shoot me a message. I don't want to shout. That's why I'm wearing these headphones, but I'll take them off when we start sitting. Okay. So thank you for joining. Um, just to let you know the schedule for today's sit. We'll do I'll do a little bit of ZAZEN instruction at the start. So 10 minutes from now, give or take 8 minutes from now, 5 to 8 minutes from now is when we will start sitting. I'm just going to give a little instruction first. So we'll sit for 25 minutes after I give a little bit of Zazen instruction. Then we'll take a 5 minute rest kinhin, which is a silent meditative uh, break. And then we'll do another 25-minute sit. And then I'll just give a brief talk about Zen, very brief, and if you have any questions or anything you want to share, you can go ahead and throw it in the little comments section right down here, chat. I'll type it out here. So right down at the bottom there. If you can save the questions till the end, that would be great because we're going to be practicing together in the meantime. Okay. Um, so I've tried to figure out a way to do these sits. Here online. And for a while, I thought I was going to um, give like a Zazen instruction video. And then when I advertise these sits on Facebook or whatever, I would just say, go watch the video. But actually, for some reason, I didn't do that. And I think the reason is I like to give Zazen instruction at the beginning of these Sunday sits because we're not in the same room together. This isn't a Zendo. Like everybody who's here right now is in their own private space. So it's hard to figure out a form for us. I don't want to just replicate the form that we would do in the Zendo, which is bows and incense. Although I did light some incense back there, and there's a candle, um, because this is a very different context. So I think my intuition on giving Zazen instruction at the beginning of these every time is correct because it brings us into our bodies together. We're not sharing a single space where we're one physical body of practitioners. So we have to do other things to get us into our bodies together when we do this practice of sitting online, which is unusual in the lineage of Buddhism. I mean, it's kind of cool because we're both together and we get some space. We get to do our own thing in our own space. Uh, but the form, I guess, I've kind of figured out for this is to give zazen instruction every single time we do this. So I hope you'll bear with me for that. I think it does help make us one body of practitioners, even though we're not in the same room. Um, so I'm assuming everybody is sitting on the floor. You're more than welcome to sit on a chair or wherever you're sitting. I'm assuming you're sitting down and you're cross-legged. You're welcome to sit on a chair. Just sit on the edge of the chair with your feet flat on the floor, and then just do your zazen that way. Otherwise, or you can kneel, which is called seiza in Japan. It's a kneeling meditative position. You can take your zafu cushion, which is one of these, and you can stick it in between your legs like this. Whenever I sit seiza, which isn't often, this is what I'll do. I'll stick this like kind of between my legs, underneath my butt, um, and that is the most solid position I've found for seiza. Seiza is good if you're having some knee issues. If you're tight in the hips and you just can't sit cross-legged. Otherwise, sit cross-legged. And you can sit Burmese, which is the legs just crossed and resting on the floor. You can sit quarter lotus, which is your uh, foot up on the opposite calf. You can sit half lotus, which is your foot up on the opposite thigh, or you can sit full lotus, which is both feet up on the opposite thighs. That is sort of traditionally the most solid position. And you will find many internecine disputes at Zen centers with people having various opinions on how important it is to pretzel your body. So um, I would say sit comfortably, but take the most serious position you can. I mean, full lotus is um, the most solid position that I've found. But there was a era where I was screwing up my ankles and my knees from sitting full lotus in the zendo, so I had to stop. So now it's usually quarter lotus, sometimes full lotus. I'll do full lotus today, but whatever you can do, uh, so that you're sitting solidly, but you're not like getting distracted by pain. So you're sitting up straight, but not rigid. Uh, take a few deep breaths through your nostrils. Breathe in through your nostrils and out through your nostrils. And your tongue is just lightly touching the roof of your mouth. Pull in some of that clean air. Exhale. And sometimes they teach to um, rock a little bit on your cushion, rocking forward a little bit so you can kind of find your balance. I always thought this was weird and corny. Uh, it's not actually, and I figured out why the other day. Um, um, like it takes a little bit of settling in to your cushion, a little for me, anyways. A little bit of mindfulness is the word people use to come away from my busy day and to take my seat and to be manifest some kind of presence on the cushion as opposed to just kind of unconsciously plopping down on the cushion and then just zoning out. I think that just rocking backwards and forwards a little bit, finding your balance kind of gets you in your body. So I think that's the most important thing about Zazen for me lately. And most actually always is just posture and body, right? And then from posture and body, you can do your deep inhales and your deep exhales. And I always say, we're not here to do Zazen. Like, we're just here to take the posture. And if Zazen shows up, great. If enlightenment shows up, great. If the aliens show up and abduct us, great. I mean, no matter what happens, great. But our job is just to take the posture. And that's one of the reasons why I'm spending some time here in the beginning, laying out the posture once more. So your spine is straight but not rigid. Pivot your hips. I like to pivot or tilt my hips so that I'm sitting upright and my knees are touching the floor. It's really important that your knees touch the floor. If they aren't touching the floor, grab something. Grab a hat, grab 5 hats, grab another pillow and stick them under your knees so that your knees are solid. You don't want your knees dangling in the air. And sometimes it's it's uh it's hard to notice actually. It's so uncomfortable sometimes to take your seat that you don't even notice, hey, my knees are sticking up. It's probably the case that you're not elevated high enough. So stick another pillow under your butt, stick 2 pillows, stick 3 pillows under your butt. And if that still doesn't, however many pillows you need, if that still doesn't work, then like I said, just take another pillow or a hat or a scarf or something, fold it, put it under your knee or both knees so that you're solid. Breathing in deeply through your nostrils, out deeply through your nostrils. Your tongue, I think I said this, is lightly touching the roof of your mouth. You're breathing through your diaphragm, not up here in your chest. Sure your shoulders are relaxed so you can drop them. And relax the muscles in your jaw here, in your temples, in your face. Relax all your wrinkles. In type of Zen practice that I do, we hold what's called the cosmic mudra. So you've got your right hand and it's o- your left hand is held in your right hand like this, and your thumbs lightly touching. And then you just put this mudra in your lap. So you're lining up your knuckles, these knuckles and these knuckles like this. You can see that, like kind of like that. And your thumbs are just lightly touching. And then you put this at your diaphragm. So the palms will be touching your belly, maybe an inch and a half to 2 inches underneath your belly button. So you're just kind of holding your hara, or you're holding your mudra there at your diaphragm, or the space is called your hara down here. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe deeply but naturally. Do a complete exhale, and then the inhale is going to happen naturally. That's what I was taught. I was taught that sometimes the way we're quote unquote supposed to do zazen, it feels like we're doing it, a breath that's maybe a little bit too extended, but usually we're used to not doing full and complete breaths in the real world. So, you can do 5 to 10% slightly longer exhale than you would normally do if you were just walking around taking care of business in your daily life. So, just a little bit more on that exhale, not much. You don't want to make it a thing that you get wrapped around your axle about, but just a little bit longer on the exhale, and then the inhale comes naturally. Exhale again. Give it completely, the whole exhale. Inhale happens naturally. We're holding our posture here. We're sitting upright, straight but not rigid. We're relaxed, but we're solid. We're firm as we sit here. We're not slouched. I was taught that the more you slouch, the harder it is. And perhaps counterintuitively, if you sit up straight, it gets easier. You get strength from that. So you'll keep doing as you sit micro adjustments to your posture. Like you might find yourself slouching a little bit, and you'll just sit up straight again. And then you'll get your energy back when you sit up straight again. You're always, I find it's so helpful to just keep returning my attention to the breath. I'm not thinking about the breath. I'm doing the breath. The exhale. There's so many, a lifetime of practice is a long thing, and you're going to have tons of insights. You're going to have tons of moments where you're fed up with Zen practice. You don't believe in it. You're going to have a phase where you're praying. You're going to have a phase where you're an atheist, and on and on and on. I mean, I'm speaking from my personal experience here, but like the posture and breath are consistent. They're like the foundation, and you can have all the sort of trips you want. um, During your lifetime of practice. But just for me, it's been really important again and again and again. I come back to that foundation of just taking the posture and then doing the exhale. Of course, the mind wanders and worries, and all kinds of interesting, cool stuff happens. And part of practice that doesn't get talked about enough in Zen, I, I think, is you get to kind of watch your mind. You get to kind of see what's going on in there, because we're just sitting here. We're not doing anything. We're not even technically watching our mind. We're just putting our attention on our breath, right? But our attention keeps drifting. It keeps drifting. It keeps drifting. And then we notice the stuff we're thinking about. And we notice how we're thinking. And we notice these patterns of fantasy and delusion and joy and anger and hope and all these things, and we can see it inside ourselves. It's wonderful practice. Um, but again, that's a phase I'm in right now, is, what's going on inside me? What's going on in there? But that's not the foundation of my practice, because if I focus on that, I am going to get distracted by it. I'm going to start chasing thoughts. I'm going to start thinking things, and I'm going to get lost in thought. So my practice is return my attention to that breath, that foundation, that posture and breath. I hope that makes sense. Very, very, very simple. And one can I wasted I still do so much time trying to make my Zen slightly more interesting, so I don't have to just sit here and breathe and pay attention to my posture. Okay, so I will start the sit now. Um, I'll start it with one ring. No, I'll start with three rings from this bell. We'll sit for 25 minutes, and then I will end that sit with one ring from this bell. Then we'll do a 5-minute rest break, silent rest, kinhin, or rest meditation, where you can go to the bathroom, etc. And then we'll do another 25 minutes. I am going to turn entirely away from my computer. I highly recommend everybody do that. You can even just, I don't know how you turn it, push it to the side, shut it if that doesn't disconnect you. Um, so we'll sit for 25 minutes, starting now. So have a 5-minute rest Kinhin, which is a silent meditative break. You can stretch a little bit or use the bathroom, and then in 5 minutes, we'll sit for another 25. Welcome back for part two. Sit number two. We'll sit for 25 minutes. Um, Change the cross of your legs for this sit. So if you sat with your left foot up on your right thigh, now you'll sit with your right foot up on your left thigh. This balances out your hips and your body a little bit so you don't um, privilege one sitting posture too much. That'll make you crooked and tight and over the long run. So just make sure you're always changing the cross of your legs with each sit. Okay, we'll sit 25 minutes. Okay, that concludes our two sets. So if you have maybe some thoughts or some questions you want to ask about Zazen practice, go ahead and put them in the little chat box here. Those questions are good because they get us 9 times out of 10 when a question comes up in a group of practitioners. I find it's usually maybe half the room, third of the room is wondering the same thing, and everybody has wondered what you're wondering at some point or another. So when we sit together, like the practice unearths these questions and somebody surfaces it and asks it, and it's good for everybody. So please go ahead and um, question in the question box if you have one. Just want to talk a little bit about zazen practice today, and something that's come up for me, and something that I wouldn't necessarily if I was at a retreat, for example, and I was wearing my robes or something, I I might not um, make what I'm about to say the priority of of um, my talk, because it's not really according to Hoyle Zen Buddhism. Um, so before I get into that, um, uh, I just want to reiterate that for me, I go through lots of different phases in my practice. Like when I was at the monastery, it was like a very specific and serious kind of monastic practice. I mean, we were sitting a minimum of 4 hours a day. That was on the off days when we weren't in our formal training season. Our teacher was off the grounds and we were just monks, like taking care of the property. We were still sitting like 4 hours, a minimum of 4 hours a day, usually more. So we sat a lot. So I could afford in that environment, which I lived in for 13 years, to have an off sit where I just kind of drift, I or dream a little bit, or think a little bit, or just settle into the cushion and like have a break from my annoying and sometimes crazy and infuriating monastic peers. A lay practice is different. We're choosing to do this. You're choosing to do this on a Sunday morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. And it's your free time. So, you know, I, as a lay practitioner, which is what I am now, a lay Zen Buddhist priest, I'm assuming most people, if not everybody watching this, are lay practitioners, which means you have a practice that you're doing. You're a self-starter with your Zen Buddhist practice. You're taking yourself to the Zendo if you have a Zendo nearby that you go to, or you're sitting on your own in your own space and you don't have a teacher there yelling at you, telling you to manifest the Dharma at a monastery, as I did. Um, so, truthfully, I have a intermittent Zazen practice. I mean, there are some times when I'm sitting all the time, and then I'll go a phase where I'm not sitting. And this is what I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't necessarily say at a retreat, because this is not like what a Zen person who's giving a talk about Zen is supposed to say. So, but I found it to be helpful. So it can be hard to motivate yourself to do a daily practice. Um, you've got other things to do. You've got a busy life. And then sometimes you take your cushion and you do your practice, and it doesn't feel like much. You're maybe, I know I've noticed this myself. I can drift a little bit. I have one of those lazy sits like I used to have at the monastery that I was just talking about. Um, and as I said, I could get away with those in the monastery, but I'm not going to waste my time here in the real world where I've got a lot of different responsibilities. So I found that one of the things that can be helpful for my home practice, both in terms of getting me on the cushion and consistently sitting, and then getting me not to just daydream a sit away, uh, can is a question, and it's a question that we used to practice when we did these talking circles at the monastery. So for a while, we were all in big trouble and our community was falling apart, and we had to pull in help and resources from the outside. So there are these people out there who do they lead talking circles, and we needed to learn how to talk to each other as monks. And so talking circle is everybody sits in a circle basically, and there's something that you pass like a talking stick. So it would be like this, and the person who has a talking stick can talk. So the first question that the moderator of a talking circle would ask is, what is alive for you right now? Okay. What is alive for you right now? And it was a great question because we were in a tumultuous zone as a monastery, and we would, I'm assuming we, I say we, I mean, I would come into these meetings like with all kinds of emotions and triggers ready to get triggered, and thoughts and feelings and arguments I'm ready to have. And that question, what's alive for you right now, was good because it brought me into the moment, brought me into my body, and made me consider what was alive for me. And so it's an interesting question. So that's a question I've been bringing to the cushion lately. And there is stuff that's alive for me. And there's a reason that I'm doing a consistent Zazen daily practice again, because there is stuff that's alive for me in my life. And the difference between a monk and a lay practitioner is that, our we have responsibilities in the world that a monk doesn't. Um, And so the line between our families and our jobs and our roles as citizens and our Zen practice is thin to indistinguishable or non existent. So w- I'm okay with bringing a little bit of my life onto the cushion with me as a way of focusing me. Like I know, for example, today is Sunday, and I've got a week ahead of me of certain responsibilities. So those responsibilities are alive in me today. And so when I took the cushion tonight, I have defaults. My one default is okay, you're sitting with a bunch of people, you're going to have to talk in 50 minutes. What are you going to say? You don't want to sound like a jackass on the internet, So what are you going to say? That's a really strong impulse. And that impulse will cause me to waste those two sits because I will be running through dialogue in my head that I'll be saying to you right now, right? But that's a wasted sit. Other times, if I just take my cushion, um, during the week, it'll take me 15, 20 minutes to really inhabit my zazen. I'll be thinking about where I've just been and what's just been happening in my life. And I'll be thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow or what I'm going to be doing after the sit. And I'll be a little bit anxious. So, this question of what's alive for you right now brings my life to the cushion with me. And it's a way of owning my practice on the cushion because like I said, our lives as lay practitioners and our practices are not really different. They're not separate. They're completely woven together. If you're a monk, you don't really have a job other than being a monk, and you don't have a personal life. You don't really have a family. I mean, you have a family, but you've left your family to come to the monastery. So your only job is just to sit there. but our job is to live in our lives and to bring our practice into our lives and to engage with our lives and to be more present in our lives. So if you're having a problem motivating yourself to get on the cushion, and then when you're on the cushion, motivating yourself not to drift, what's alive for me right now is a good way to get serious on the cushion. Like you're not there to f around, right? To just kind of rest for 25 minutes and then get back to your life. Um, you've got relatives who you have problems with. You've got work issues. You've got creative goals. You've got um, internet stuff, politics that's in your head. Like there's a lot that's going on inside. So you come to the cushion and do that exhale. And then the inhale happens naturally. And that's the foundation, right? And then some of the stuff that's alive inside you, you can pay attention to it, feel it. Um, it's very tricky language because if you start thinking about it, you're toast. That's been my experience. I am toast if I start thinking about anything on the cushion, like actively thinking, worrying, perseverating, being anxious, plotting, planning, um, daydreaming. Like that stuff just makes me suffer on the cushion. But there's a way of holding it. As long as you have that baseline of posture and breath, there's a way of holding what is alive for you right now in your zazen. And it can inform the zazen, energize it. I don't know if that makes any sense. You're free to shoot me an email at showsonjackhobner@gmail.com, I think it is. Showsonjackhobner@gmail.com and inquire more about that because I don't know if I don't I've tried to give this talk a few times and I don't know if I ever quite get it across right. Um, maybe someday I will, but um, yeah. Okay, Typhone, my friend, it's good to see you. I'm glad you made it over to Patreon. Thank you. We've been talking for a while on YouTube now. You talk about manifesting a lot. Can you please explain more? Yes, manifesting is not what pop culture has made that word out to be. Like if you dream about something, you'll manifest it in your life. So manifesting is very clear. It was a term that my teacher used to explain to us what we were supposed to do in Sanzen practice when we did koan work. So he would give us a koan. The koan might be, you know, when you see the bird in the sky, what is your true, where's your true self? What is your true self? Um, and then you have to manifest an answer. So manifest is not, well, Roshi, I think you can't talk. You have to do it. You have to do the thing. Okay. So you have to demonstrate your answer physically. So manifest it. Take it from the inside, bring it to the outside. Um, when we're sitting zazen, we're not 80% posture and breath, and then a full 20% of watching ourselves sit. We're manifesting posture and breath. We're doing it. So manifesting, I think, just kind of means doing it completely. There's a term, Japanese term, haitoku, which means to apprehend with the body or to fully and completely do a thing such that every atom of your being is involved in doing it, and that's manifesting. So I hope that makes sense. If not, shoot me an email. I'll expand in a video in the future. um, yeah, yeah, Ryan, it's good. The what is alive for me right now, just when I start to drift on the cushion and I start to think um, and worry and question Zen, when I come back to that question, what is alive for me right now? It reminds me of the stakes, right? Like if I don't have a practice, if I don't listen to my body when I'm sitting, I don't make relationship between inside and outside through the exhale in the inhale, if I don't do these things, then the life uh, that I'm living my practice within will suffer. There are stakes. So I like that question. It focuses me. It makes it serious when I sit zazen. Johnny, Johnny Pastrami. So when you're seeing a bird in the sky, where is your true self asking for a friend? Yeah, you know, my teacher used to say that to do koan practice, you have to be a good actor. And then we were like, huh? And then I brought this to a way senior monk at one point, and and I said it. I've talked about this before. I said it sounds to me like what Roshi is asking for when he gives us koans. It sounds like what he's asking for is like you're supposed to fake it until you make it, right? So, I mean, so when you see a bird in the sky, you're manifesting the bird. So it's something like acting, but if you're just acting, Roshi's gonna laugh and ring you out. So it's something other than or more than or it's not just acting. And so I said to this monk who was senior to me, I said, "It sounds like Roshi's saying just fake it till you make it." And the monk said, "No, what he's saying is fake it until you're not faking it anymore." So there's a kind of throwing yourself away into the activity. And Sanzen practice and koan practice was a sort of a ritualized way of doing this. It was almost like a kind of language, a kind of body language, or a kind of choreography almost that you were doing with the teacher in order to get at certain things. So Sanzen which is koan practice, is a kind of a different um, it's a lot. We don't want to go off on a Sanzen tangent, um, but essentially, there's no difference between Sanzen practice and Zazen practice. And Zazen practice is what we did here today. And Zazen practice is just doing posture and breath, right? Completely, you know, Taitoku, apprehending with the whole body, you know. And the Shoto Harada Roshi, who's a contemporary Rinzai teacher, talks about how with Zazen, you are uniting your mind and your body and your breath. And I would include in that your surroundings. You're uniting all these things, mind and body and breath and surroundings, doing the complete exhale. So there's no room for thinking. And the inhale happens naturally. What do you think the bird thinks? I don't know. It is a blessing to be able to sit together once a month. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, yeah. We'll do it some more. It's good. It's good to have a whether or not I do the sit with you or whatever. I find it's good to do a like an orienting sit at the beginning of the week. Sunday's rest day. I had like a long naps today. Um, it's like a rest day. It's a recuperating day, and I find it's good to do a sit on Sunday, like a strong sit, a serious sit to get my head in a certain space before I start the week. I don't find myself on Wednesday like wondering where the days have gone and trying to find my footing, but just like, okay, what's alive for me right now? What's alive this week? And exhale, and then inhale. Okay, friends, shoot me an email if you have any questions or anything. I'll answer them in a video. Uh, It's always helpful. Like I said, these questions get surfaced by group practice, and it's just like a ball that gets bounced around between practitioners. And sometimes one person has the ball and they bounce it up. But it's a way that people practice together is to continually ask questions of each other and to answer them and to fail to answer. None of these questions are answerable. I mean, what do you think the bird thinks? Gunther, it's unanswerable. The question of what is manifestation is unanswerable. The question of how do you When you see the bird in the sky, where is God? I mean, how the hell do you answer that? It's unanswerable, except for when you answer it in sounds end. So, but these questions keep coming up. They always come up. Practice questions always come up, and it's good to keep asking them and to keep them in play and keep them alive. It energizes our practice. Okay, who is the gaucho? I'm just going to read this here, and if there's anything in here for that I can expand on. I was having low level frustration with thoughts arising. Okay, yeah, I know. So I just wanted it to end sometimes. Yeah, I have that a lot lately, especially when I'm practicing on my own. So that's one of the problems with practicing by myself is that the thoughts arise, I get agitated, and I want to just quit early from my sitting and go into my life and take care of my responsibilities, right? That is again why this what is alive for me right now is important as a lay practitioner because there's a reason I sat on the cushion because all that stuff in my life that I want to run and take care of, I need some perspective on it. I need some breathing room. I can't always be in my life, in the furnace of my human life, um, and most effectively, um, like navigate the problems there and deal with the issues there because I'm just too caught up in it. So there's a reason I came to the cushion to do that exhale and that inhale and that posture. It's to get some perspective from my life. I mean, my mentor used to tell me the best place on planet Earth to solve problems is on the cushion, and he would tell me that in confidence. And he was 100% right. Like, you got a creative problem or, an issue in your personal life, like you just pull back from it. Just say, no, I'm leaving you at the door. I'm going to sit in silence with none of these concerns, do that exhale, do that inhale. Sometimes you tap into a bigger mind and the subconscious or whatever it is, the oversoul just produces an answer for you. Something clean, something clear, a new perspective, right? So then the next day when you're supposed to sit on the cushion and you're like, no, I'm going to skip it today. Maybe some part of you says, you know what? I had a good answer to that question revolving around some issue in my life yesterday on the cushion. Maybe I'll commit myself again to the cushion because it can be helpful in my life. Okay. Thanks, friends. I'll see you next time.